uncommon way of thinking, a common denominator. I used to think winning was in the talent, but the world's full of talented losers. I used to think winning was in the education, so I lined my den with diplomas, unable to relate to people. Winning is on the street. School is never out for the professional. You keep on learning. I thought winning was in the way you looked, but I found out that people that didn't look too good ended up being great. I thought it was the gift at birth, but I found out so many people had a lot going in, they took nothing out. Some people had nothing going in, they took everything out. I found out that winning was all in the attitude. It's all in how you look at it. Your attitude is either the lock on or key to your door of success. Either locks you out or opens it up for you. And I'd like to give you the attitudes and action steps that make a real winner in life. I mean the kind of winner that helps other winners too. If you win, I win. Only if you win do I win. And that's the real winner in life, the ones that build other winners too. I'd like to give you those high-performance ideas that are common in people who become so uncommonly successful. And there are 5 winning attitudes I'd like to share with you tonight and today and the rest of your life. One idea worth taking home. What if they were 5 Olympic rings and we were all Olympians, which we are? And what if you could transmit them to everyone you meet? Everyone you meet. The first winning attitude that I found is positive self-awareness. What good does it do to be motivated to a dream if you don't see it for you, if you don't see your own potential? We've been selling ourselves short since we were children. You see, we associated ourselves with our mistakes. When my kids were good, it was natural. I just didn't say anything. But when they were bad, I was the first one to criticize them, to point out their mistakes, and they began to associate themselves with their mistakes instead of their successes. And they reinforced maybe what was wrong with them. They labeled themselves. I was labeled when I was young, I gotta admit, Dumbo ears, beaver teeth, buzzard beak, motor mouth, metal mouth, and turtle breath. And they said the turtle died, too, in your case. And I've never gotten over those early labels, and my awareness as a result has been limited. You never outgrow the limits you set. You only set new ones within which you must live. And habits start like offhanded notions, flimsy cobwebs at first, then with practice, like unbreakable cables to strengthen or shackle a life. The limits of the human are self-imposed. I've been to the UCLA Brain Institute, and I can tell you for sure, the human mind, in the ability to create a new place to grow, to imagine, to remember, to make things that never existed before, to lead a new life, to get out of the ghetto to greatness, is unlimited, only limited by our own vision of ourselves. But somewhere along the way, we put the lid on ourselves and self-limited. I've decided to blow the lid off finally and get some positive self-awareness. I ask myself the question, if it weren't for time and money and circumstance, what would I be? Are you kidding? I'd be terrific. But I don't have the time. I was a veteran and served in the war, and I went to school a lot, and my dad was a warehouseman. If it weren't for the money, if I had the money. We were born poor like you were, and first thing you know, I never saw any money for us. I went into education to seal my fate, make sure I never earned any of that stuff, but I couldn't see it for me. If it weren't for my circumstance, are you kidding? I'm a Gemini. My dad was a warehouseman. I was the middle child, caught in the sandwich. I know a guy that didn't make it because he was the only child, no feedback. I know somebody that didn't make it because they were the youngest child, only got hand-me-downs secondhand. I know somebody didn't make it because they were the oldest child, had to take care of all the little kids in the family. And we talked to each other, and we found out there was time and money and circumstance. If I had the time, Ray Kroc, 54, selling paper cups, golden arches, McDonald's at age 54, the beginning. Grandma Moses, 75, painted her first painting at 75 years old, went on to paint 500 to 700 masterpieces after age 75. I've always liked George Burns. I can't die, I'm booked. If it weren't If I had the time, we've got the time. If it weren't for the money, if I had the money. Remember old Walt? I'll tell you, what a loser he was. Walt Disney, are you kidding? He was bankrupt for the second time. Can you imagine going in? What guts it takes. Had a hand puppet named Steamboat Willie. He talked in a falsetto voice. He was the first voice of Mickey Mouse. Hey, I got a deal for you. I want to give you a cartoon during silent movies. Get out of here, Walt. Another one of them crazy ideas. He believed in his dream when he only had a dream to hang on to. He was as successful when he was broke with a hand puppet as he was when Disneyland and Disney World opened. It's just that money flows to great ideas and to persistence. And you and I will get the money because it flows to us if we work. If it weren't for my circumstance, I think of a woman in history, middle-aged, Midwest, garment district of the United States, went down with her husband to the kibbutz, and they had marital problems and were divorced, and bun on the back, roll down hose. Not so beautiful on the outside, but oh, how brilliant and beautiful on the inside was Golda Meir, one of the great woman prime ministers of the world. Grandma with a bun and roll down hose. If it weren't for my circumstance. You and I have that, and that's what positive self-awareness is all about. Not seeing the limits and understanding that we are self-limiting. Now that you understand just how critical self-awareness is to the psychology of winning, what can you do in your daily life to become more aware of yourself and of your potential? Let me suggest some action steps you can take right now that will help put you on the road to positive self-awareness. Begin by seeing yourself through others' eyes. Ask yourself these questions. How would I like to be married to me? How would I like a partner like me? Would I like a parent like me? Or a manager like me? Or a child like me? Or even an employee like me? Secondly, evaluate important information. When you read or hear something that impresses you, check out the validity of the statements. Find out how accurate they really are. And in doing so, get input from experts who really know the score. Next, break your daily routine. Try going to work another way. Cut down on television watching and increase your reading. Make new friends with different interests, or start a new hobby, or even a community service project. Finally, take a personal health inventory. At least once a year, have a comprehensive physical exam. Review the lifestyles of your parents and grandparents, and try to break any similar patterns in your life that could harm your health. Instead of buying junk food, try eating fruits and vegetables, and begin a regular exercise program that you can enjoy and that you'll continue. What's holding us back in life? I'll tell you, for me, it's been my self-esteem, and that's the second winning attitude. If I could give the children of the world a box for Christmas for every day, I'd give them a giant box of self-esteem, and they'd open it up and see that it doesn't make any difference what you wear, who you are, what you've done, what you own, what you drive. It's how you feel about what you're doing at any given moment in time. Self-esteem is the deep down inside the skin feeling of your own worth. And that's why, as the second winning attitude, it is the single most important quality in my opinion. It's the internalization of value. Doesn't make any difference what you're doing. Doesn't make any difference what you did last week. Doesn't make any difference what you're going to do tomorrow, but it makes a difference of how you feel about your potential. It's that feeling. You know, I give programs for young people in the summertime, and they come to youth camps, and I've been trying to help young people understand that it's not designer jeans for tots, and it's not what you're driving or what you're wearing, it's how you're feeling. That's why peer pressure is so strong. You want to belong to a winning team. There'll never be a human being more important than another based upon what you got or how you look or what you do. It's how you feel about yourself. And that's the most important thing, the internalization of value, internal standard. Not comparing yourself down or up with anyone, using competition to keep you honest, keep the quality in and the price right, and setting internal standards and giving your wins away. The three greatest fears that I've come in contact with in my life are the fear of rejection, which is the greatest fear that anyone ever has. It's greater than the fear of anything. The fear of being made a fool of in front of your peer group. Why do you suppose the pressure is on young people to dress, act, and look a certain way? It goes right up into adulthood. We're all the same. We're afraid to have people laugh at us. That's why in kindergarten, they raise their hands. They don't care if they're wrong or right. They just want to answer anything. By the time you get to the 4th grade, you begin to worry about people snickering at you and being wrong. By the time you're in high school, you say, I ain't answering. And when you're a grown-up, you always play it safe with the same kind of friends who have the same beliefs, and that's the way it is. The fear of rejection becomes the fear of change. I don't want to change and set an example. I might get criticized, I might get ridiculed, and it becomes the fear of success. And through all of my life, the one thing I've been afraid of most is making it, of winning. You know why? Because where we grew up and how we were and how it was, it didn't seem right for us. And so I had permanent potential. I just kind of majored in minors and did things that were tension relieving instead of goal achieving. And I made a lot of excuses. Fear of rejection, there was always a reason. And success always stood in my way. They asked me to publish a book, so I procrastinated. See, procrastination is caused by the fear of success. You know if you did it, you'd win and you'd be better. So I didn't do it so I could be my comfortable self. And it worked out right. I painted the fence and walked the dog. Next thing I knew, the opportunity passed. It felt so good. Whew, just to be me again. You and I aren't afraid to be rejected because we've learned one thing about self-esteem. Since self-esteem has nothing to do with performance, it has to do with potential. You and I can separate who we are from what we do. And the one thing you learn with high self-esteem in life is you never carry failure forward. Failure is always left where it belongs as a learning experience, a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block, a temporary inconvenience. I've decided the one way you can spot a winner or loser in the making is the way you project yourself, your value. You always project on the outside how you feel on the inside. I know I do. I can't hide it. I'm not the best looking in the group, but I'm always looking my best in the group. I can't always wear the finest clothes, but they're clean and pressed usually. And you always project on the outside how you feel on the inside. You can't deny it or can't get away from it. And so that's kind of the way it is. I can spot in me other people, the ability to accept a compliment, and the way you forecast your value to others. When people used to say nice things to me, I threw back all the value they gave me. It's an easy tip-off. Rejection of value or acceptance of value. Pretty nice looking suit, Dennis. And I'd say, yeah, I was going to give it to the Goodwill. You're right. They said, pretty nice tie. And I said, yeah, I got some mustard on it this afternoon. And they said, yeah, kind of sloppy eater. You're right. We brought you a present for your birthday. I said, you shouldn't have. You spent too much. They said, we know, just checking your value. They said, thank you very much for what you did for our son. And I said, it was nothing. They said, we'll tell him that for you. We sure appreciate what you did the other day. And I said, don't mention it. And they didn't next time. They knew. Why would anyone, when you're paid a compliment, not accept it? Gee, your hair looks beautiful, I said to her, and she said, have split ends, need to go to the beauty parlor. I said, because you got dark roots. She said, you got a big nose. I said, I knew that. I wore this really neat sweater one winter, and they said, oh, look at that. What is it, alpaca, or is it... I said, it's got a moth hole right here. And they said, oh, gee, better use mothballs. I'm learning to look at people now and hold their gaze. I'm learning to give them my hand and my name, and that it's okay. I'm learning to project value to people. I'm learning never to lead with an excuse. I don't make excuses walking in. I try to give people value and accept it in return. Self-esteem, the single most important quality, the feeling that you got no ceiling. As you now know, Self-esteem means accepting yourself as you are, right now, as a changing, growing, imperfect, but valuable individual. And since self-esteem is the foundation for all high-performance human achievement and happiness, it's absolutely essential that you take specific action to feel better about yourself. Here are my action steps for enhancing self-esteem. First, take stock of your personal assets. Ask yourself, what are my talents and strong personality traits? Who are the family members and friends I can really count on? What are my accomplishments and skills? What are my goals, my dreams for the future? What do I want to learn? Where do I want to go? And who do I really want to be? Make a list of these important answers and review it often. Next, monitor your daily self-talk. Avoid using negative prison words and replace them with positive, constructive words. Instead of saying, I can't, say I can. Replace I have to with I choose to. I'll try with I will. If only with next time. Impossible with possible. And why me with try me. And finally, communicate value to others. Greet people with a smile and a handshake. Give your name up front when meeting someone in person or on the telephone. And maintain good eye contact when speaking and listening to others. Always say thank you to compliments. The third winning attitude, in my opinion, is positive self-control. The idea that life is a do it with God, do it for others, do it to myself project. And I can take the credit of the blame for being just about who I've set out to be. I've never understood that until recently. I've never told a lie that hasn't come back to bite me harder than when I said this offhanded thing. It's the unfailing boomerang, the law of cause and effect. What goes around comes around, and it does. Responsibility. The healthiest, happiest, most directed human beings are the ones that believe that they exert a degree of control on the outcome of their lives by the choices that they make. Oh, there should be a statue of responsibility. Oh, there should be. It should stand tall on Alcatraz as a reminder of the rusted remnants of freedoms lost in the past. And that statue of responsibility should be standing high on Alcatraz in San Francisco Bay to match the Statue of Liberty. No freedom without responsible action. Life is a choice, and we make choices in the way we think. I need to understand that. I didn't know that. I thought I was just a victim of the system in my own way. My father was a warehouseman. My mother didn't know any different, and I thought I was destined to stay in the Navy. I could have. It might have been nice. I love the Navy. But I decided to get out, and what I've decided to do is study people who make choices. The healthiest people. Volition. I learned it the hard way, though. I learned it from one of my kids, because I was a chauvinist pilot in the Navy. And if you haven't heard the story, it's true, and I'm embarrassed to admit it. My daughter Dana was 9 months old in her high chair, and she didn't like Gerber's strained squash. She liked applesauce and Oreo cookies when they were split so you could lick the icing before soup. And I was a chauvinistic pilot for the Navy, and I didn't take any of that stuff from a new recruit. I was flying in El Centro, California, in Navy jets, and I'll never forget that day. After a tough day at the office, blowing cows and chasing farmers on their tractors, spending taxpayers' money, I came back that day in my silver blue flight suit, which I wore to mow the lawn so the neighbors would know. You wear your flight suit to mow the lawn, neighbors say, hey, got one of them dudes next door. I drove a Porsche Targa looking for Honda Civics on the freeway. Little intimidation, fly formation on them. Well, get out of my way. Jet pilot coming. I had 2 .45 leather bullet belts crisscrossed across my chest. I'd seen an old Charles Bronson movie. I packed a .45 on my side in case they take me hostage. I shoot my way out. Had a hunting knife stuck in my flight boot. No problem at all. I go in the water, no problem. I cut the kelp, cut the great white coming in from the rear. Put my knife between my teeth and do a triathlon Iron Man into shore. And stand there with my knife and my gun and my helmet with the bull of lightning which I wore in the car. I walked in that day thinking it flows downhill in a pecking order. And what do I see? A 9-month-old tyrant in the high chair getting applesauce as a reward for doing nothing. I've had a tough day drinking Gatorade. I walked in and looked at my wife. She had squash in her hair. Squash on her face and on the tray and on her apron, and none in the kid. Said, looks like you're being manipulated here. Best I'd take over. And I put my gun down on the counter, took off my bullet belts and put my helmet down. Said, what's going on? It looks like World War II all over here. And she said, she doesn't like squash. I'm giving her applesauce as nourishment. I said, give me that squash. She doesn't know what she doesn't like. She doesn't have taste buds. She's 9 months old. She does what we say. I was raised during the post-depression. We were taught to clean our plate, which is why I'm chunky today. And I did what every good red-blooded chauvinistic pilot would do. I gave her the simulation training. I ate 11 bites of squash and showed her how delicious it was. I nearly gagged. I said, your dad likes it, so open up. It's the law. You love him, and he's eating it, and you can become a pilot if you eat it. Her gums clamped shut in defiance. The pupils in her eyeballs pinpointed, which meant I'd lost the sale. She said to herself quietly, go ahead, fatso, if you like it, you eat it. My wife said, she gave me the same look. I said, yeah? Well, she can't get away with that look from me, because I won't tolerate it. I sent my wife out of the room. We got down to business. You'd be proud. As soon as my wife left, I took over, called power management for the... Yeah, I like to do that. As soon as my wife left, nobody was looking. It's a true story. She's 9 months old. I squared off in front of her. You'd be proud. Her mouth will open in surprise as I applied some pressure to the cheek area. I said, you can't close your mouth, can you, honey? I shook her head. I said, you love your father? I raised it up and down. I said, how about some Gerber strain squash? Oh, you'd like some. Any more problem? Good. I stuffed it full of squash and held her mouth shut like every good father would do. I gave her the deal. 5 bites of squash gets 1 bite of applesauce as a commission if the squash clears. Are there any questions? 9 months old, starting to make decisions. Taking control. She decided to die by holding her breath rather than swallow. Her face turned red and purple. My face turned red and purple. And may I be stricken dead on the spot if I didn't say to my daughter, go ahead and die, I've got other kids. Before you die, you'll swallow. And I held on. I don't take that from nobody. I glanced up at the kitchen clock. 15 seconds gone, no brain damage. Hang on. I stuck a mirror under her nose. There was no condensation. I squeezed it tight and got my nose to her nose, my eyeballs to her eyeball, and I gave her the last deal. It won't do you any good to do that, honey. You're going to have to breathe sooner or later, and when you do, down goes the squash. I'm holding on, and that's it. She looked at me and made a second decision at 9 months old. The angle was right. He's close enough. She made a squash transfer. Oh, yeah, it's happened to you. It's happened to all of us. She exhaled suddenly. I squeezed tight and created the nozzle effect, called linear acceleration. The squash went through this small orifice deep into my nasal pituitary area. And I went and fell on the floor convulsing. I bellowed like a bull. My wife tiptoed back in and looked at me lying on the floor. And she said, what happened, big guy? I said, nothing. She doesn't like squash. Don't you make a big deal about it. And I've learned something about control. Children cry for a dry diaper, and they cry for nourishment. They cry to be held. If whining gets goodies, the whining continues. people always do that which they're paid attention for. I've learned something. Time is the only equal opportunity employer. Did you know that? You control the clock, how you use it, how you choose to spend your thoughts. You control your contacts, who you run with, who you model yourself after. You control that. You control your concepts, what you think about. You control your causes, what you've repeated over and over again to make your purpose. You control your communications, how you talk and what you say. You control your commitments, how much time you give to any one thing. You control your concerns, how you respond. Losers let it happen. Winners make it happen. Losers see thunderstorms. Winners see rainbows. Losers see icy streets. Winners put on their ice skates. Losers take chances. Winners make choices. It's all in the way you choose to think. And Earl Nightingale and the scriptures and people through the years have said it best. You do become what you think about most of the time. And most of the time you and I think about winning and success and positive opportunities. And we control that. It's the most exciting thing I've learned. I learned it from the Olympic athletes. Believe me, they have that moment to either choke or come through. And they control how they think just before they perform. And they always think in terms of the desired result. And they slow their heart rate down, and they get their breathing, and they say, come on, just like drill. Need a 10? Got a 10. This one's for you, mother. Who does that sound like other than Mary Lou Retton? I need a 995. Need a 10? Got a 10. Control. Positive self-control means being in the driver's seat, exercising your power of choice, and understanding that losers let it happen while winners make it happen. So take control of your life. Here's a suggestion. Before going to sleep at night or first thing in the morning, make a list of priorities for the new day. Not just a list of things to do, but a lineup of key tasks with the most important ones at the top. Double check that list as the day wears on to see how you're doing. Take control of your time. List 5 important but unpleasant tasks that you've postponed and do them, all 5, this week. Take control of your finances. Make a budget of your income and expenses and begin a regular savings program. Treat your savings account like a monthly bill and become accustomed to paying into it frequently. The next winning attitude is if you've got the control of the thought, where would you lead it? You lead it in terms of the imagined self. And the next point is a positive self-image, which in fact is no more than goals, because a goal is an image of the self, of yourself in it. And I look at that and I know what's happened to me. Your image of self comes mostly from the conversation that you have with yourself. You know, you and I talk to ourselves at 400 to 600 words a minute every waking moment of our lives. What do you say when you talk to yourself? Hi, going to be another good day. It's going to be a great day for me. Another Blue Monday, another Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Monday. Thank goodness it's today. With my luck, I knew it would fail. I went down for the job, but there was a line around the corner. I can see it for you. I can't see it for me. I'm a good dancer. I can't remember names. I'm no good with figures. I'm a born Leo. It's the way we talk. Our imagined self is more based on self-talk than anything else. You are the Chief Justice of your Supreme Court. The most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have of yourself, with yourself, and it leads to images and pictures and feelings and concepts which become goals when they're planted. Habits start like flimsy cobwebs, then with practice, like cables, we said. I have this little inner voice that goes around with me. I tell it what I'm thinking. I tell it what I see. I tell my little inner voice all my hopes and fears. It listens and remembers everything it hears. At first, my little inner voice followed my command, but after years of training, mine's gotten out of hand. It doesn't care what's right or wrong or what is false or true. No matter what I try now, it tells me what to do. You are me too, R2D2, are you me too? Continuous loop video cassette in my head of the kind of person I think I am, I say I am, I know I am. And you and I have one, like a tape recorder, there, recording everything we've been afraid of, everything we've thought of, everything we've done, and a lot of things that other people have told us that just aren't true, only their opinion. Fortunately for me, however, working with Olympic athletes and Super Bowl champions and winners, I got mine under control. And I know how to give my inner voice positive reinforcement. And when I talk to myself, I always talk with all due respect.